statement. I now give the floor to the representative of Pakistan.
Thank you, Mr. President. We also join colleagues in thanking Deputy Special Coordinator for the Middle East Peace Process, Mr. Ramiz Al-Akbarov, for his comprehensive briefing. And we welcome UN's continued commitment to remain engaged on the Palestinian question in all its aspects. Pakistan welcomes the convening of this open debate at a time when cautious diplomatic progress coexists with serious humanitarian situation and continued violations on ground in Gaza and the rest of the occupied Palestinian territory. Mr. President, the unresolved Palestinian question is at the core of the instability in the Middle East. Palestinian people have endured decades of illegal occupation, marked by dispossession, brutal repression, and the denial of their inalienable rights, including the right to self-determination. Over the past 2 years in Gaza, this suffering escalated to an unprecedented scale, resulting in widespread civilian casualties, mass displacement, almost total destruction of infrastructure, and severe humanitarian deprivation. Against this backdrop, the international community sought to re-anchor efforts towards diplomacy and a credible political pathway towards peace. Initiatives such as the high-level conference on the peaceful settlement of the question of Palestine, held last July, as well as President Trump's 20-point peace plan, subsequently endorsed by the Security Council Resolution 2803, reflect this renewed engagement. In line with Resolution 2803, the commencement of the second phase of the peace plan, including the establishment of the National Committee for the Administration of Gaza and the establishment of the Board of Peace and executive committees, are important steps. As intended in the plan, these measures should now help consolidate the ceasefire, secure a permanent cessation of hostilities, facilitate transitional arrangements, enable recovery and reconstruction, ensure the provision of humanitarian assistance at scale, and prepare the ground for a sustainable and credible political process towards Palestinian self-determination and statehood. However, we are deeply concerned that the fragile situation in Gaza remains under constant strain. Ceasefire violations continue unabated and civilian lives remain at risk. Increased pressure on international humanitarian organizations, including deregistration measures and restrictions on humanitarian operations, are impeding assistance and protection for the most vulnerable. We strongly condemn Israel's continued attacks on the UN premises and UNRWA, including the recent demolition of UN compound in the Sheikh Jarrah neighborhood of occupied East Jerusalem. Such actions undermine the stabilization efforts and threaten the limited progress achieved so far. UNRWA's operations remain essential and must be safeguarded. President, Pakistan, together with other Arab and Islamic countries in the Group of Eight, has joined the Board of Peace in support of its mandate as endorsed by the Security Council Resolution 2803. In a joint statement, the foreign ministers of the group reiterated their support for the peace efforts led by President Donald Trump and reaffirmed their commitment to implementing the mission of the Peace Board as a transitional administration as set out in Comprehensive Plan to End the Gaza Conflict and endorsed by Resolution 2803, aimed at consolidating a permanent ceasefire, supporting the reconstruction of Gaza, and advancing a just and lasting peace grounded in the Palestinian right to self-determination and statehood in accordance with international law, thereby paving the way for security and stability for all countries and peoples of the region. To ensure that current initiatives deliver tangible results, Pakistan underscores the following priorities. First, globally, on the process and its objectives. We hope that the Board of Peace, under the framework of Resolution 2803, will lead to concrete steps towards the implementation of a permanent ceasefire, further scaling up of humanitarian aid, reconstruction of Gaza, and realization of the right to self-determination of the people of Palestine through a credible, time-bound political process consistent with international legitimacy and UN resolutions, resulting in an independent, sovereign, and contiguous state of Palestine based on pre-1967 borders with Al-Quds al-Sharif as its capital. That, Mr. President, is the ultimate goal supported by the international community. Palestinian-led governance and institutional strengthening, with a central role of the Palestinian Authority, are indispensable in this regard. Second, and specifically on ceasefire, full respect for the ceasefire must be ensured with a view to a permanent cessation of hostilities. Any military escalation, unilateral measures, or provocations must be strongly countered as they jeopardize civilian protection and undermine confidence building. Third, on the humanitarian situation, attacks on UN premises, UNRWA, humanitarian organizations and personnel, and their facilities, as well as administrative restrictions on international organizations, are unacceptable and contrary to international humanitarian law. Full, safe, sustained, and unimpeded humanitarian assistance at scale must be ensured. UNRWA's role in this regard remains critical. Fourth, recovery and reconstruction. That should begin without delay, with no annexation, forced displacement, or alteration of the territorial unity of the occupied Palestinian territory. The contiguity of Gaza and the West Bank is indispensable for the viability of the Palestinian state. Fifth, illegal settlement activity, settler violence, and attempts to alter the demographic, legal, or historical character of the occupied territory, including the holy sites, must cease immediately. Israel, the occupying power, must also be compelled to immediately halt its illegal and destabilizing actions in Syria and Lebanon in violation of their sovereignty and territorial integrity and the relevant Security Council resolutions. Israel must completely vacate all occupied Arab territories. Sixth, accountability is indispensable, for without justice and respect for international law, there can be no durable peace. And finally, the political horizon. A credible, irreversible, and time-bound process culminating in the realization of Palestinian statehood in accordance with international legitimacy. All diplomatic initiatives, including President Trump's Gaza peace plan, a high-level conference on the peaceful settlement of the question of Palestine, and the Global Alliance for the Two-State Solution, must reinforce one another through coordinated and concrete implementation. The international community, particularly this Council, bears the responsibility to translate renewed engagement into measurable change on the ground for the betterment of the Palestinian people. Pakistan's solidarity with the Palestinian people remains firm and unwavering. We stand ready to work with members of the Council, regional and international partners, and the United States to advance a just and lasting solution to the Palestinian question and a comprehensive peace in the Middle East. I thank you.
I thank the representative of Pakistan for his statement and now give the floor to the representative of Kingdom of Bahrain.